Did Milwaukee just change the game for battery-powered circular saws? Let's find out. Okay, so straight out of the box, this is what you get with the kit, at least the kit that I got. You get the actual saw. The blade comes with this, but the blade is not installed. You get your dust port adapter. Instructions, very important. All the packaging on these cheaper Milwaukee tools are just come in the cardboard box. This doesn't come with any kind of bag even or much less pack out case, which is fine because you're not, paying a ton of money for this saw. Before I put all this together, I just want to say right out of the box, you're getting with this tool what I call the Milwaukee feel. That the rubber grips on this front handle and also trigger handle are amazing. It's got good weight to the saw. The battery is not installed and the blade's not installed, but it's got some, it's not too heavy. You don't want it to be too heavy, but it just feels quality. I will say something I'm not a huge fan of with like Ryobi tools. Sometimes they just feel a little bit cheap. Does not feel that way at all. This is very comfortable in the hands. Of course, in a second, we're going to fire it up, but I just want to say right out of the box, this saw feels amazing. One thing just to make sure you know about this saw is that at least the package that I got, it does not come with any kind of M12 battery, and it of course does not come with an M12 battery charger. So you'll have to get that separately or find a different package than what I found. This is just what you get when you buy the saw. One quick note about installing your blade is this bolt right here is threaded the opposite way. So actually at the top when you're heading to the left, you're actually tightening because this is a saw blade that spins and you don't want it to, the manufacturers didn't want it to loosen when it spun, obviously. So that's why it's backwards. You can use this little locking mechanism here to make sure you get this good and tight. It locks the blade in place so you can tighten this, which is a super nice feature. And it just slipped because I let go. There it goes, locks and tighten. Once you have your saw blade installed, you can put this Allen wrench right back here. I'm a huge fan of any time you can have like on-tool storage for adjustment tools, because if I leave this around my shop, it's going to get lost, but it's really low profile. This Allen wrench can just stick right there, and then anytime I need to switch out the saw blade, I've got this right here. Also, one more note, just make sure anytime you're changing your blade or even like working on a vacuum adjustment, never have your M12 battery installed. You don't want this saw to start up on you when you're working on a saw blade. So make sure to keep your battery out of your tool. I'm a huge fan of the way that this vacuum adapter fits in. It just kind of slots in right there. This locks, and then you have one Phillips head screw that you insert back here. That is super handy. In just a second, we'll of course test how good this dust collection is, but I like the way that this attaches. It's really, really simple. Okay, so now that we have this saw put together a little bit, let me just tell you a little bit about it. This is an M12 circular saw. It's got a 5 3/8 inch blade. The way that Milwaukee markets this saw is they say this is your framing saw, because at full depth, this saw blade can basically only cut through dimensional lumber, so 2x4s, 2x6s when you're cutting the narrow side, or plywood, sheets of plywood. But really anything thicker than that, this saw is not going to be able to handle. But on the flip side, you're getting this at a lower price point. It's lower profile. It can run off the M12 battery platform, which is really nice. So that's the 5 3/8 M12 saw. Right now, in my shop, I only have the 1.5 amp M12 batteries, and I'm honestly planning on getting the, I think it's the 3 amp M12 batteries. It's the ones with like the square bottom. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I probably need to get some of those batteries because they'll just last a little bit longer in this saw. This saw is going to be pulling a lot more power than like an impact driver or an M12 drill would. All right, I've got the battery installed. I'm just going to fire this up for the first time. Okay, the reason that didn't work is because this has a trigger guard. You have to pull this down and then pull the trigger. I actually really like that feature. So here we go. Wow. Okay, a couple of things. First, this is super quiet, very, very quiet. And then when you let go of the trigger, it stops on a dime. That is really, really nice. A couple other features that I want to point out is you do have a battery indicator right here, which tells you every time you start the saw how much charge is left on your M12 battery. It's right up here by your trigger. At first, I actually didn't think that this had a battery indicator, so that's kind of a pleasant surprise. Also, you have a nice LED light that's kind of shining towards the front of your saw blade. I really like that. Few other features about this circular saw that, I'm gonna take this out, are pretty standard. This can cut bevels up to 50 degrees. The main thing I look for in a circular saw is that, you just adjust this here. The main thing I look for is that it can cut over 45 degrees. If it can cut over 45, that's gonna allow you to do most of what you would need to do with a table saw when it comes to cutting bevels. Like if you wanted to hide a corner of some plywood or something like that, 45 degrees is your angle there. The way you adjust the depth of your blade back here, you just kick this up, and then you've got your adjustment there. So don't forget, same safety tip as always. You want the least amount of your saw blade exposed. That's true whether you're working with a circular saw like this or a table saw. If you're cutting, a little veneer, something really, really thin, you don't want all this blade exposed. So be sure to adjust that just for safety. And then one more cool thing is this has a little hook. This is not something that's normal for circular saws. This just kind of folds out like that, and you can hang this on a belt. You could hang this on a tool rack. I just thought that's pretty cool. That's metal, by the way. Feels really good. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty nice features. Oh, one more thing. It doesn't come with this, but this has an attachment or a place for an attachment that you can get a rip guide. So this just kind of clips in here, and if you want to go, parallel to the edge of a piece of plywood or a board, you can buy the rip guide. I don't have the rip guide, so can't really tell you if I like it or not, but it has that option. Okay, sweet. So next, what we're gonna do, let's test this thing out. Let's see how it actually cuts when we're, working on a project. Okay, we're gonna first test this by cutting through some 1/2-inch plywood that has a black walnut veneer. Also on the ends, you can see this has like a 1-inch strip of black walnut hardwood. So we're just gonna go all the way through this and see how it holds up. First impressions, I'm pretty impressed, honestly. You can definitely tell when I got to cutting this thicker hardwood, kind of slowed down a little bit. It had no problem at all with this plywood. One more thing, I'm just telling you things I'm learning as I go. You have to, of course, hold down this trigger to start the saw, but then once you're in your cut, you can let go of this safety trigger. You don't have to hold down both. You can, but you can let go of this and just hold on to the trigger if you want to. All right, I'm gonna make a few more cuts. This is a fully charged 1.5 amp M12 battery. I'm gonna see how many cuts I can make before this battery dies. Hey, by the way, if you're curious as to what I'm making with this amazing black walnut plywood veneer stuff, be sure to hit the subscribe button because I'm coming out with a video on what this project is. It's gonna be pretty sweet, so be sure to subscribe, and that'll be coming out in a few weeks. As far as battery life is concerned, I made 6 of those all the way through the plywood cuts, and I still have, according to this, half battery left. And that's with the 1.5 amp. So if you had the 3-amp battery, you'd have an even longer battery life. So I will say for what this is, a framing circular saw that's going to mostly be intended for cutting down 2x4s and plywood, your battery life is going to be really, really good. Now, Milwaukee claims on the box that it can cut up to 190 cuts per battery. Of course, they don't say what kind of cut that is, so I find that, not misleading, but just, maybe you can cut through 190 2x4s is what they're trying to communicate there. What I'm trying to say is I'm very impressed with the battery life on this. It's not something where, it being battery operated is a huge con because I'm not having to constantly switch out the battery. So I think that's really, really good. So would I recommend this circular saw? The answer is yes, I absolutely would. If you want what this is, a framing saw, if you do a lot of more rough type woodworking, you're building things like decks or cornhole boards or outdoor furniture, or even just want something to break down plywood when you're far away from a power source, this is a great tool. I'm super glad I picked this up. This was not sponsored. Milwaukee didn't send me this saw. They don't know I'm making this video. I paid full price for this saw, and I've been super, super impressed with it. So I'm really glad I picked it up. Of course, links are in the description if you want to pick up this exact saw. And if you use the link in the description, it just helps me out a little bit. Hey, if you're interested in checking out some other tool reviews that I've done on the channel, check out one of these 2 videos where I go over a Ryobi router and also the difference between the M12 Milwaukee drills and the M18 Milwaukee drills. That's in this video right here. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave a like on your way out, and we'll see you in the next video.